Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today, with us, Angel Rebo, CEO Consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is going to be interviewing Kurt Koontz. Kurt is an adventurer, yogi, and published author. Before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is gonna benefit of the content that we're gonna be sharing here today. Also, while we are live streaming, like right now, we have the active chat. It's the screen that you're going to be seeing here on my side, and through there, you can interact with us. You can enter your questions. We just please ask you to follow the format, word question in caps, and the actual question you have in relation with what we're talking here today. Last but not least, Mindalia is broadcasting from Monday through Friday in Portuguese through Mindalia Televisão, English through Mindalia TV English, and Spanish through Mindalia Televisión. And we want you to visit us in our different channels and find out what we are sharing there daily. Is information as beautiful and as interesting as the one that you see daily on Mindalia TV. Also, we want you to collaborate with us with your own valuable content, and for that, you can go to our website and you're going to click a link that says collaborate with Mindalia on the top. That link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out, and it's going to take you to that form that you are going to be filling out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. And you're going to be, just like Kurt, sharing valuable and beautiful information through the different platforms of Mindalia. You can do it in English, Portuguese, or Spanish. I am not going to delay this any further. I'm going to leave you with Angel and Kurt. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna, for the introduction. And thank you, Kurt, for being with us today. Welcome to Mindalia TV.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you, and Myrna's been wonderful, and I couldn't be more happy than to be on your program.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love the introduction. It's not the first time that you and I talk, and I would like the audience to know that Kurt is a real adventurer, real adventurer. So what does adventure bring to your life, Kurt?
I think the biggest thing that adventure does for me, to put it in perspective, I do a lot of travel, and I'm gone probably 6 months of the year. And I just returned from 6 weeks in Rishikesh, India, and I got back last week. What the travel really does for me, it always takes me outside of my comfort zone. And I feel that that is the area where we all grow. So I like to always be a little bit on the edge to make sure that I continue to grow in my personal and spiritual life.
What took you to India, Kurt, if you can share with us?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, but
please go ahead.
I walked the Camino de Santiago in 2012. And then in 2013, I published my first book, which was called A Million Steps. And it was pretty funny, Angel. When I released that book, I had some fantasies like maybe I would get rich, or maybe people would say, oh, he is so cool, and do things that were more to feed my ego. Where the book took me and where I thought it would take me were two distinct different places. And it introduced me to thousands of people throughout the world. And the book really changed my life. One of the people that read the book was working at an ashram in India. And 4 years ago, she invited me to come visit. And so I kind of innocently went to India, had no idea what to expect and where it would take me. I ended up falling in love with yoga. Have spent the last 4 years, I've spent 5 or 6 weeks there every year. And I actually did a 200-hour yoga teacher training last year with one of the most incredible yogis in the world. And so I went back recently and spent another 6 weeks with them, and it was just an unbelievable experience.
Wow. Did you meet more interesting people that you would like to share with us during your 1 million steps in the Camino?
Oh, everywhere I go, I meet interesting people. I met some absolutely incredible people. And I think what I like most is the people that seem to make the biggest impact on me are the most common people. I mean, it's not some big celebrity status or this and that. My best friends in India are beggars, shopkeepers. At the hotel I stayed at, there was a young man at the front desk that was just incredible, and he's become a very good friend of mine. I met a woman from Madrid who is absolutely incredible. And I meet always the right people. And it seems that the people I meet are always the right person at the right time, and that's quite magical.
What moved you to write the book? Your
What
book.
was the question, Angel?
What made you write your book, Kurt?
Well, when I came back from Spain, I felt that I had had such an unbelievable experience that I really felt a need to share my experience. So I'm not really a writer. I wasn't trained to be a writer. I didn't do it in college and things like that. But this book, A Million Steps, simply poured out of me. And I felt very fortunate to be able to share the experience. So I put that out in 2013, and then I continued to travel. And a lot of my friends would always ask me, they would say, "Are you going to write another book?" And my answer is, well, no, not until I have something that I really feel needs to be shared. I don't want to write a book that says, I went to Argentina, I saw some really cool things, and it was wonderful. I need something from my heart that needs to pour out of me. India, over the past 4 years, and my experience on a yoga journey has really, again, changed my life. And so my most recent book is about that experience. And I wrote this new book with the idea that I'm hoping that people that read it can feel as if they're on the trip with me. So I wrote it in 3 parts, one for each year of India. And I also wrote how I started in yoga, not necessarily for the right reasons. I started with it to be more of an exercise and maybe to be around more women. And where it has taken me is to places I never expected. It's a total spiritual practice. Practicing yoga on the banks of the most sacred river in India with legendary yogis, just life-altering experience.
What can people expect from your book when they read your book? What are those things that move you to write it that people are gonna be seeing and reading on your book?
I think the biggest thing is to understand how you can take yoga off the mat. And when I first started in yoga, I never really understood. Everybody says, I want to do yoga because I want to get flexibility. I need to have more flexibility in my hips and my joints. And it's a very common idea. It wasn't until I got to India that somebody explained to me that a flexible body is just the beginning. A flexible mind and a flexible heart is the end zone. That's where you're trying to go. And so what I try to do in my journey is not talk about how you can do a certain pose, but it's more of how each pose can open your heart, how doing a twist can allow you to see things differently. So I think it's a much more spiritual oriented book than a manual on how to do yoga. Plus, you get a feeling of what India is. I mean, the city I go to is called Rishikesh. It's considered to be the yoga capital of the world. It's about 40 miles from the headwaters of the most sacred river in India, and it is a spiritual furnace to be there. It's just an amazing place. And plus you meet all my friends, and there are some really amazing people there.
And why did you call the book 1 Million Steps?
No, no. The first book I wrote was A Million Steps. That's
Oh,
my
okay.
Camino book,
Yeah.
and that's the actual number of steps that it takes to walk 500
Okay.
miles. My
Oh,
second
okay.
book, my second book, which I of course have right here, is
Awesome.
called Practice.
Oh, okay.
And
Sorry about the confusion.
oh, it's no
Thank you.
problem. Practice is what you do when you do yoga. You practice yoga.
So when you are so right when you describe why, the many reasons why people would go to yoga. It's so precise. So what would you say that people can expect after reading your second book?
I think that they will feel uplifted. I think that they will look at life potentially from a different perspective. There's some very humbling stories. Um, I was fortunate, and I've detailed this in the book, to be invited into the homes of many people that live in India who are basically, from our perspective, they're living in poverty. They really have nothing, and it's unbelievable to go into these homes and to watch these families just open their hearts up. This one friend of mine, he invited me to his home. I went in, and the first thing I saw was a very small kitchen, and then there were three other rooms in the home. One of the rooms was for his mother and father. The other room was for his brother and his son. And the final room was for him, his wife, his daughter, and son. The daughter was 3 years old and the boy was 13. They all sleep in the same bed. And they made me lunch. We ate the lunch on that bed. And it's amazing to see how tight and how much love this family had, yet they have no material possessions. They have no excess money. And the family, again, mom and dad live right next door in the room next door, and they will be that way for life. And it's just it's another world, and it's beautiful. I would describe the people of India, most of the friends that I met, as a group of people that have nothing and need less. And I think that most of the people, a lot of the people that I know, have everything and want more. And it's a nice contrast. So hopefully, after reading the book, you will realize that we all have more than we need, and sharing our excess is much better than getting some more stuff.
Excuse me. So I was getting excited with what I heard. I was going to ask you, well, what do you do to help people today? How do you, besides writing books that inspire and uplift people, what else do you do?
Well, what I try to do, and it's going to sound very basic, but every person I come in contact with throughout every day of my life, whether it's somebody at a coffee shop, whether it's somebody at a gym, whether it's a neighbor, I just try to be a bright light. I try to be as kind to them as possible. If somebody needs help, I try to be compassionate, and I simply try to be an uplifting person. Um, when you get stuck in your own pity and feel sorry for yourself, it takes your energy level down. When you're helping other people, your energy levels go up, and you become more fun to be around. So I think it's a little like attracting like. And so if you march through life with a very positive attitude, you're going to find positive situations are exploding in a synchronous manner throughout your life.
Wow, that's that's really profound. Why would you say people are not feeling or experiencing this if it looks like so obvious, right? Why do you think people are not doing it?
Well, it's a really good question, Angel. And I think that part of it is it's the road less traveled. It's a little bit more difficult. I mean, how easy is it to sit down with your friends and find something to complain about? You can say, I don't like politics. My pants are too tight. I'm fat. I have a neighbor. You wouldn't believe what the neighbor did. Their dog crapped in my yard. Could you believe it? And it's very easy to find those things. how difficult is it to instead focus on gratitude and focus on what's going right in your life? And when you share that with people, people are like, what's wrong with you? You seem to be happy. Where are your problems? And I don't know if that really explains the story, but that's my take on it. So much easier to focus on negative. And if you just shift your perspective and focus on the positive, whoa, your life will just become so much better.
Have you ever asked yourself, why is that the case? Why people focus more on these other kind of things? I mean, is it like, do we have our hardware like wired like that? And everybody, it's true. When there's a group of people, typically you start criticizing something or someone. It's true. It's so true.
I think it's human nature. I think a lot of people, Angel, one of the things that they teach us in yoga is to fall in love with silence. Because when you're silent, you're able to go within. And when you go within, you realize that we all have a lot of bright light inside of us. And when you can find some peace and some calmness within your soul, within your body, whatever it may be, you realize you don't really have to go external to find it. I think that so many people are living through their minds, and the mind is always wanting. It always needs something. It's never really happy in the present moment. It lives in yesterday, and it has fear of tomorrow. So if you can learn to just connect and to be happy with what's going on right now in your life, then again, it's like a flower blooming. You'll find beauty everywhere. But if you want to play a broken record of something that happened yesterday and play it over and over and wonder why the scratch is in the same place, you're not going to be happy. If you want to worry about what may happen tomorrow in any aspect of your life, in your relationships, in your financial situation, I have a line in my book that I really like. It says, if you look at your history of predicting the future and that was your job, you would have been fired a long time ago.
That's so true. So what can we do to change our history now, right now?
Well, you obviously can't change your history. So that's fixed. What you can do is you can learn from your past and don't repeat the mistakes. And when you go into your past, just use it as a look in there very briefly and learn, and then get the hell out. And stay in the moment. That's the thing that you can really learn the most. And I write a weekly blog post, and I'm just writing my one for tomorrow. And a friend of mine asked me, just as I was leaving India, he said, was it harder to come home from the India trip, or is it harder to come home from the Spain trip? And my answer was, it's not hard to come home from either of them. I mean, when I'm in India 100%. When I'm home 100%. I'm always in the present. I don't, look forward to a trip. I don't look backwards to a trip. I try to be here. And in writing this recent story, I try to talk about the airplane flight coming home. It is brutal. It's 36 hours of travel and 22 hours are in the air. Now, when you start that journey, you can go in with the attitude of, oh my God, I have to travel for 36 hours and I'm going to be on an airplane for 22 hours. With the negative attitude, you're stuck in the same airplane for the same amount of time. If you get on the same flight and say, I wonder who I'm going to meet. This is an opportunity for me to unplug. I can't use the Wi-Fi. I don't have my cell phone. No one's going to call me. I can read a book. Maybe I can catch some sleep. And you look at it from more of a positive manner, not so bad. And how unbelievably miraculous is it that I can wake up in India one day, and within a day and a half of travel, I can be halfway around the planet. It's an absolute miracle.
What made you go to Spain for the Camino, Kurt?
I really like, as we started out on this interview, I always like to put myself in a situation where I'm kind of uncomfortable. And when I first went to walk the Camino, walking is really not my sport. I'm more into bicycling and things that are a little more kind of fast. When I travel, I usually stay in a little more comfort. And when you walk the Camino, you end up staying in albergues, which are they're hostels, and it's a group sleep environment. And with all of that, you're kind of on the edge of the comfort zone. I'm in a foreign country. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but not very much. And so all of those things attracted me to a new adventure. And again, I took a leap into the unknown. It was a life changer. Walking the Camino de Santiago was one of the greatest things I ever did, and will forever have changed my outlook on the rest of my life.
Did you have any expectations before going?
Zero. I I'm very fortunate to have a lot of experience with travel, and you can take this into your life in general. When you set an expectation for anything, all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure, because the expectation will either be not met, at which point you will feel that you're lacking something, or the expectation will be overachieved. And you'll kind of wonder, oh, why didn't I plan for this better or something like that? So if you go into anything, if you go into a relationship, if you go into a trip, if you go into a business adventure, and you don't have any expectation and you let the natural flow of things occur, again, that's where the magic happens. But when you're constantly measuring better than, worse than, your mind takes over. And again, when the mind takes over, it shuts the heart down. And when you shut the heart down, you suffocate.
So you went there, you took the entire Camino. Where did you start, by the way? Where?
Oh, you start in a city called St. John, and that's actually in France. And the very first day, you walk 16 miles and you go over the French Pyrenees Mountains, and you end up in Spain on the first day. Then you walk all the way across the northern part of the country. And I did it in 2012. I started in September, and then I went back in 2015, and I did it in the spring. And that trip was in May.
What can people expect from doing the Camino? Could you explain them? Could you explain what kind of an experience they might be having if they decide to do it?
Again, it's a very difficult question, because it's such an individual experience. We're all needing something different at different points in time in our lives. What I know is I showed up without an expectation, and all of a sudden I'm walking. Just imagine this: every single day you have a little backpack that weighs about 20 pounds, and everything you own is in that pack. So all of your material items are carried on your back, and you suddenly realize, I have enough. And enough being a couple pair of underwear, a couple pair of shorts, and some shirts or something. And that's pretty liberating. You wake up every morning and you start walking, and all of a sudden you meet this person who is from Argentina, and then you meet this person who's from Ukraine, and you meet this person who's from China. And maybe someone is just graduating college, maybe somebody is just getting divorced, and maybe somebody is just being diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer. You're all coming from these different situations. But what seems to happen is you have this immediate bond because you have this common goal. And you just make these friendships that are really life altering. And the other thing that's so beautiful about that walk, Angel, is I don't think in walking that path 2 times, people don't ask you really about your past. It's not, how cool are you at home? How much money do you have? And instead, people are like, how's your day? How do your feet feel? What's been your favorite albergue? Did you sleep well last night? And it seems to be how you're judged is how you treat other people. It's not of how cool you are at your home before you came on the walk. So again, that's quite liberating. I think most people, if you just meet a stranger, it's what do you do? And you begin to define yourself. You say, well, for you, I am a TV host. I am a speaker. I am this and that. And you start to almost segregate yourself. If you instead start with basic questions like, are you happy? How are things in your life? That opens up a whole nother door.
And how are things in your life, Kurt?
I just couldn't be more happy. I just spent, like I told you, I spent 6 weeks in India on the banks of the Ganges River, and it's just magic. I would wake up 6 days a week and go and do yoga. And after that, I had no plans whatsoever. And every day something would just seem to happen. I would meet a person in yoga class and they would say, let's have breakfast afterwards. And then you learn something new about a new person. Or, I could just go by the river and hang out. It was really an incredible experience. And then coming home is nice. And my family is here, my mother, my brother, I've missed seeing them. And so it was nice to be there, and it's very nice to be back. And I just released a book. Probably, I would say, Angel, one of the most exciting things I ever did in my life is in this book, I probably have 10 people that live in India, that live in Rishikesh. And I sent them their chapters ahead of time so that nobody would be surprised. I didn't want to, have any minefields or something. But to actually go over there and to hand them a book and to show them the photograph of themselves in the book, it almost makes me cry. It was one of the most uplifting things that I've ever done. And I tried something else rather unique. On my first book, I hired a PR firm to try and help me launch the book, and worked with a great lady, and it's very expensive. And it's kind of hard to really judge how it works. So what I did with this book, it's not just for yoga people, but the yoga community is certainly an obvious target. So right before I left, I ordered 1,000 of my own books. I bought a mailing list of yoga studios, and I blindly sent them out to these studios. And I call it my dandelion marketing program. And I didn't say that people had to buy books or they had to do anything. I said, this book found you for a reason. And if it's meant to be read, I hope you will share it. And I have no idea what's going to happen. And those books are landing right now all over the country. And I'm starting to get some pretty unique feedback.
That's really beautiful, Kurt. That's a great marketing idea. It's really fantastic. So congratulations for that and for following that intuitive idea, I guess you had, particularly about this book. So what is next in your life, Kurt? What comes next? Do you have anything planned?
Well, again, it's going to sound a little bit aloof. I really don't know. I mean, I'm going to take a trip I've got a couple trips planned. Every year, my mom and I go to Southern California, so I'm going to take that trip in February and March. I've tended to go to Central America in the May timeframe. And again, when I put the first book out, I told you I kind of had these ego-driven ideas of wondering where it would take me. With this new book, I have no idea where it's going to go, but it's starting to go right now. I'm starting to get contact from strangers. People are telling me that they read it and this is what it's done for them. And so instead of me and my head kind of wondering where I'm going to go, I'm going to just sit back like I'm on a big sled and let this book and experience take me wherever it needs to go. And very much like our friend Bill Bennett with the PGS movie, I'm just intuitively living life. And I find that to be the best way to be.
if someone here at our audience at Mindalia TV, they are falling in love with your lifestyle, what would be the path? What would you say? What would be a piece of advice that you could give them so that they would be able to live in such a wonderful place, Kurt?
I think one of the first things you have to do is yoga is a practice. The first time you go in and you try to do any pose, it's very hard to do. But after you practice it a little bit, it becomes easier, and your flexibility improves, and your stamina improves, and your strength improves. I think that what holds most people back in almost every aspect of their life is fear. Why don't you do something? Because you're afraid. Why don't you ask that person out that you have a crush on? Because you have fear of rejection. Why do you not enter into this business arrangement that may change your life? Because you have fear of failure. How come you don't go to law school? Because you think it may be hard. I say you need to practice on getting rid of fear. And you can start in the smallest way possible. Try to identify something in your life that makes you afraid and conquer it. If you're afraid of people, go out and meet some strangers. If you're afraid of, losing money, try giving some away and realize that life goes on, and you don't have to hold on to so tight to everything. And then the more you let go of fear, you end up with such a bigger field to play in. And so I would say anytime you think that fear is holding you back, just crush it like a bug. And another thing, don't overanalyze. If your heart is telling you to do something, listen and do it. Kind of my motto, which doesn't work for everybody, but it's jump off the cliff and worry about the water level halfway down. Don't stand at the top of the cliff and then analyze and think and do, calculations on how you're going to enter the water, how deep it's going to be. Just leap and follow your heart.
We have so many hundreds of or thousands of thoughts every day. And maybe people that are not so used to it, they might say, well, how can I differentiate from a thought or something that comes to me intuitively? Because at the end of the day, it's going to become a thought, right? Does it make sense, Kurt?
Yeah, it does. It's a really good question, and it's very hard to differentiate. But I'm telling you, if the thought begins in your mind, and then you start to analyze and you start to think about it and you start to chew on it like a mouse nibbling at cheese, that's probably not, that's a mind thought. If it feels really good in your chest and it feels really good in your gut, that's an intuitive hit. That's the one you need to follow. And I think you just, through experience, you tend to know. When you meet a person, there are some people you meet that put out some energy, and your heart and your gut tell you, I need to stay maybe a little bit further away from this person. That's an intuitive hit. That's the one you need to follow. And I don't know if that really answers the question for you completely, but if it's up here in your head and it's rumbling around, probably not so good. If it creates warmth in your body, that's a real one. That's coming from your heart.
Yeah, I think it does. I think our audience is really grabbing the main, the idea and the meaning. But we live in a world which is so rational and so thought oriented that probably takes some time. Were you always so intuitive, Kurt?
Well, again, the title of my book is Practice. And what I've been doing for the past 5 years, I've been practicing yoga. What I just did in the last 6 weeks was I was in a yoga studio in the base of the Himalayan mountains with a teacher that was not teaching me how to how to do a yoga pose. This person, while doing a yoga pose, was teaching me how to turn my mind off and how to relax into my body and how to get in touch more with my soul. And the story I told you about being in the family's home who really didn't have very much. When you realize that you have everything you need, that's when you're able to share. If you think you don't have enough, that's when you hoard. And when you hoard, whether it be your money, your time, your friendship, or anything else, not good. When you share your excess, good.
Is it easy, Kurt, to turn off your mind?
With practice, it becomes much easier. Human nature is to always want something and to let the mind run. And so you have to really focus on doing it. And part of yoga is you use your breath. If your mind is going a million miles an hour and you have all these things, you have a deadline, you have an appointment, you're late, you're in traffic and this and that. If you do a yoga practice and you really get involved in breathing exercises, if you just close your eyes and learn to take a deep breath, you realize everything is okay. And it takes you right back into the current moment. And in the current moment, problems don't exist. I guess at some point in time, you can say, oh, I do have a problem. But right now, Angel, are you hungry? Are you broke? Are you dying? Are you in a car crash? No, you're just fine. And 99.9% of our lives, everything's fine. The only place the problem exists is in our head.
I agree. It's true. We are all so attached to our heads. I'm extremely sensitive about the future of our world, and I always like to ask questions about the young ones around us. We're all adults have this responsibility of being kind of the leaders of the kids which are around us for one reason or another. And would you see, if you went back to your life, Kurt, if you went back to your life, you could change something knowing what you know today, you could put your imagination, could you leave your infancy out of that place, what would you advise the people that have kids today?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. And where you started this thread here was concern for the world. And I also have tremendous concern for the world. I have concern for our climate. I have concern for politics and a lot of other things. I think that what I wish I would have done in my life at a younger age was, instead of sitting down and basically talking to like-minded people that agreed with me and just complaining, to sit in a coffee shop and say, I'm mad about this, or to say, I think it's really sad that people are starving throughout the world. Well, of course it's sad. But what does sitting in a coffee shop talking to a friend about that problem, what does that solve? And the answer is, it solves nothing. So what I try to do in my life, and what I would really encourage everybody else to do, start locally and do whatever you can to help any person that comes across your path. So while you probably cannot feed a person in a foreign country, you can certainly help your neighbor out. And you can rake your neighbor's yard. You can be kind to everybody you see every day. And I think that if everybody in the world began to do that, collectively our consciousness would wake up and we would have a much more beautiful place. But to sit in an area of hate and anger and complain and identify problems does nothing. To solve a problem with kindness does a lot. And I think in my youth, I spent more time complaining. And today, I just try to wash that away. When a complaint comes to my mind, it's like, why am I doing this? It's a waste of time.
you've traveled so much, and but you said before something really inspiring, which was I take all my trips without any expectation. But obviously, as a seasoned traveler, are there any specific things that you like to do every single time you travel and you go anywhere in the world?
Well, I like to go to a lot of different places, and I think that one of the things that really works well for me, and I'm the first to admit I've created my own lifestyle that allows me to do this. I go for a very long period of time, and I don't like to move around a lot. So a lot of people would say, okay, I'm going to go to India and I'm going to go to Mumbai. I want to see the Taj Mahal and I want to see an elephant or something like that. Well, unless you have about 5 months, everything you do is going to be complete chaos. What I like to do on a trip, I like to go to one place and I like to submerge myself and I like to get involved in the community and I like to meet the shop owners. I like to meet all of the people that I can become friends with to learn about the local people, because those are the people that let you into their hearts. If you go to, if you go to Rome and you go to the Vatican, what are you going to see? You're going to see a million touristy things. If you go to a quaint little village somewhere in Italy and that has 2,000 people and you live there for 3 weeks, you'll make a lifetime friend. And I think, again, with travel, if I go to Germany in a big Western industrialized city, what's really different than my home here? I mean, they probably have Starbucks, they probably have a Home Depot, and they probably have a Petco. And what am I going to learn that's new? If I go to Argentina and I enroll in a silent meditation class, I'm going to learn something. So I guess that I'm kind of giving you a long-winded answer here, but don't travel and pack too much into it. Instead, go without the expectation and let the trip unfold, and you'll come home refreshed. If you go trying to see the world in 8 days, you're just going to come home exhausted, and you will have really learned nothing.
Is there after so many traveling or so much traveling, is there a particular place in the world that you remember differently, or that is your favorite place, maybe for any reason?
Not really. And I know that's every place has some pure magic. In Costa Rica, I found a beach in a city called Nosara that is, I think, one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. To watch a sunrise on the Camino is absolutely incredible. To go to the headwaters of the Ganges River, there's an energy there that simply can't be replicated. And I guess, again, if you say this is my favorite, that makes another one your least favorite. And then you're back into judgment and expectation. So wherever I am, wherever I go, I try to make that my favorite place of all time. Right now, in this moment, my favorite place to be is here talking to you.
Likewise, absolutely. And we're having a blast. I'm really enjoying our conversation. One of the many things I like of you, I mean, it's the second time that we have a conversation with Koontz, so that Mindalia TV's audience knows. It's that you can really go deep with Kurt, and he's who he is. I mean, you're so easy to talk with, and so transparent, and so willing to share your experience and your life and your feelings with everybody. And that's a pretty unique thing. I'm sure that a lot of people would like to know more about you, or maybe they would even like to talk with you. Is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. I have a website. It's kurtkoontz.com, and that's KURTKOONTZ.com. I think we did this on the last time we were together. My phone number is pretty easy. If you want to get a piece of paper, it's area code 208-345-6421, and just call me up. I'm happy to talk with anybody anytime. and I'm on Facebook and social media and some other places, and I respond to all emails, all phone calls. I love to be in touch with people, so I think I'm extremely accessible.
And could you help people to initiate their yoga practice, for instance, or could you help people like initiate an adventure life? Could you do that?
Oh, I do, and I do it the best way I can. I mean, with my Camino book, I went out and I did a lot of public speaking. And every time I would speak, a little group would come up and they would then ask me questions. And, I've met with a gazillion people to try to help them learn about what may or may not happen on the trip. I've had other people I've coached on what to put in their backpack. I've had other people that I've tried to help to get rid of expectations. If you want to know how to go to India, I'm more than happy to tell you how to get a visa, where to go, where not to go. I think I'm an open book and would help anybody any way I possibly could.
Excellent. Well, so Kurt, I wanted to thank you very much for being with us today, for being who you are, for doing what you do, and for being the beacon that you are. It's really amazing. You really are. We really like Angel, to be, we really like to be around you.
I really enjoy it. We got introduced essentially between Bill Bennett and his wonderful wife and Jennifer. And oh my gosh, they've become such dear friends of mine. And, to have you in the family now, it really is amazing. And Myrna, who, in fact, check this out. For those that don't know, Myrna is the genius behind all of these programs.
Exactly.
And she got a hold of me about 6 weeks ago for this program. And I told her I was going to India. And she said, my sister just went to a city over there called Rishikesh. That's where I hang out. And that's what my whole book is about. It's about yoga and Rishikesh. And, of course, the genius behind this program is connected to Rishikesh via her sister. And that, again, is the beautiful synchronicity of life that happens if you just let it happen.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, again, thank you. Thank you very much for being with us today, Kurt. It's been a blessing, really blessing.
Anytime. I can't wait to come back, and hopefully that invitation will be coming quickly.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. And again,
right.
this
Thank
is
you
Angel.
so much.
Please.
Absolute pleasure.
Anytime. And this is Angel Riba with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much for being with us today, and hope you have a great day. See you soon.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much.